Welcome to r/Askreddit. Meat eaters, what type of meat, if any, is off your menu for ethical reasons? Any that comes from an endangered animal, for instance tiger meat, or any that have abhorrent extraction practices, for instance shark fin. I know that the other types of meat I consume do not grow on trees, that something had to die for it to be made available, but there is a difference between killing an animal with a quick pressure gun and cutting off their fin and throwing them back into the sea to die slowly and painfully. I don't eat pork or any pig meat. I used to work on a farm where I raised pigs. 5 adults and something like 40 piglets. I fell in love with them. I used to just go on my off hours and hang out in the piglet pen. They would just leap all over me and give me kisses. They are massive smart. I can't eat them now any more or less than I don't eat dogs. They're untouchable. There was a runt piglet. I nicknamed him Slayer because he probably shouldn't have survived, but he did. He was hardcore, so I had to give him a hardcore name. He was a runt named Slayer. It perfectly fitted him. I won't support anything that is obscenely wasteful. When I was 14 and went fishing with my dad, I caught a shovel-nosed shark. Absolutely gorgeous creature. It was almost as big as I was. We took it home and I honestly thought it would feed all 8 of us. It was a holiday, so it was my family and my uncle's family. Anyway, dinner gets served. Everyone else had chicken, and I was served what I could only describe as cooked fish that looked like the size of maybe 2 or 3 big sausages. It turns out that only the tail meat is actually edible. I was mortified. Killed a giant animal, only to basically eat 2 hot dogs worth of actual meat. Never went fishing with my dad again, because it turned out he knew that when I caught it, if I have known, I would have thrown it back. Horse, but that's a personal reason, because I've spent most of my life around horses. I don't begrudge anyone who does eat horse meat, it's just something I can't do. Otherwise, I'll eat any meat, but I'd prefer locally raised, pastured meat and will happily pay more for meat that is raised ethically and not factory farmed. Edit to add, I would not eat dog or cat either, because I see them as companion animals. But again, not going to judge someone who does. I no longer eat beef. When I was in high school, my boyfriend at the time was a farmer. He introduced me to his cow and I instantly fell in love. I thought it was so cool. He had a pet cow and I volunteered to feed it almost every day and even named it. I thought it was strange he never named his pet. One day, he told me he was taking the cow that I named Bud to fair. Me being 15 and incredibly naive didn't know what that all entailed, so I was all too happy to help out during fair week, feeding, bathing, and giving Bud all of the love and head scratches imaginable. Bud did really well during show, and he told me that he sold him for a high price. Naturally, I was incredibly upset that he sold the cow, but since it was his to begin with, I didn't put up much of a fight. About a month later, we were at his house eating tacos. He asked me if I liked the meat. I was confused, but agreed that it was really good, and that's when he dropped the atomic bomb that I was actually eating my beloved Bud. The person who bought Bud off of my boyfriend shared his meat after butchering. It was like being fed your dog or cat. Every time I think about eating beef, it makes me physically sick. I haven't touched it in 17 years. Any fish I don't catch myself, because the oceans are being proper fucked by overfishing, and there's no sustainability to it. And battery farmed shit, because it's a hellscape. I'm aware there's a massive problem with meat eating in general, both environmentally and morally. I've tried a couple of times to wean myself off it. I'm down to 3 dinners a week instead of every lunch and dinner. And as soon as I can buy lab-grown meat, I'll never look back. A couple friends of mine are vegan, or will only eat meat if it doesn't monetarily support the meat industry because of ethical reasons, and I find that point of view hard to refute. Raising animals is also bad for climate change reasons. So is keeping carnivores pets. I'm still a meat eater, but I've been reducing my meat intake for a while now. I think the goal may be to eliminate it eventually. If one animal is off the table for ethical reasons, then the rest really should be too. After watching Seaspiracy, I have made good attempts to not eat seafood. There have been about 3 times where I did just to not inconvenience others, but besides those 3 times I haven't had any in about 1.5 years ish. Idea being that we keep overfishing, and if we want to give those environments a chance to build back up numbers, we need to reduce consumption. I'd like to think If we enforced a reduction in commercial fishing, we could see populations go back up to our benefit, but getting people onto the idea is likely not gonna happen. I'm not a big meat eater, but anything that's from a baby animal, I will never buy. It excludes eggs, though. I don't think they are meat, and it doesn't hurt the chickens to take the unfertilized eggs. I consider myself almost vegetarian, although it's not exactly for ethical reasons generally. I'm just really too picky with my meat for it to be worth buying 99% of the time. I maybe eat red meat 4 or 5 times a year, chicken about once or twice a month, maybe not even that, fish every once in a while, and shrimps, mussels and scallops a bit more often, because they don't have a central nervous system, I think, and, honestly, I love seafood a lot. Lol. Pork. All animals we farm for meat, chickens, cattle, etc., are intelligent, emotionally sensitive creatures. But pigs are on another level. They make just about any animal you can get as a pet besides some species of parrot look dumb in comparison. Even your pet dog, who knows dozens of tricks and word commands and seems smart. I can somewhat ethically stomach eating the other animals, but pigs are too much for me. They should be household pets, not farmed for meat. If I'm gonna eat beef or chicken though, it's gonna come from a local farmer, not from a grocery store with factory farmed meat. Also, shark fin soup, or shark in general. Look up how shark fins are harvested, and you'll be horrified. Dear. When I was in like 1st grade, I went to a wildlife rehabilitation center for a field trip, and we met a buck that had been orphaned and hand raised by humans, and he literally followed our class around like a dog and was a ham for pets. I vowed from that day on, I would never eat them, and I'm almost 30 and never have. Also ducks. I grew up on a lake and had these ducks show up one day when I was in middle school. That made me their mother. I will eat TF out of their unfertilized eggs though. Thank you.